struggles every day. Makes me wanna holler, go away. I need more peace and hope and love. Where do I find it in this crazy old world? I need strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Every time I listen, Lauren and David share strategies for living, and it makes me aware. I got strategies for living, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio.
Oh, you know we need them. We need those strategies for living. So are you ready? You ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
I'm ready.
Yep, you've sprung forward, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah. Spring is sprung, the grass is riz.
Oh, Lord, here we go.
Where the heck the flowers is. I'm a great poet.
You are. You truly are.
Don't know it.
You should be the poet laureate.
Yeah, well,
or at least a published poet.
I made a bid for that a while back with some of the Shreveport Regional Arts Council people.
And, yeah.
In fact, they brought a poet in, a renowned poet, and I actually, gave one of my poems like that, and he just looked at me like, this man is completely crazy,
Yeah,
but,
I could imagine.
Yeah. But I don't know if it was, I don't remember whether it was this time of the year or not, but if it had been, I could have blamed it on being out of sorts because of the time change. Because people a lot of people complain after, it's been a couple of weeks now since the time change, but there's still a lot of people.
There's still some lingering adjustment. I mean, and it's just an hour, but it makes such a huge difference. And, I have to kind of shake.
Well, and then on top of that, the seasonal, the shift of the season too.
And that's what I kind of have to shake my head at, because here we are emerging from the depths of winter, about to emerge and unfurl and reclaim our energy. Yeah. And we decide, no, we're going to completely throw off our circadian rhythm by
Let's
an hour.
mess with that a little bit.
Just,
let's spring ahead, right?
Let's put a cap on it is what you're doing.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about, springing forward and resetting, actually, our body, our mind, and our spirit.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about rebalancing, resetting and rebalancing, if you would.
Perhaps seeing the season as an invitation.
There you go.
To shift.
There you go. And we may even talk about some strategies on how to do that, and actually also the spiritual symbolism of spring itself.
All right.
That and more today here on Strategies for Living. Thank you for joining us, folks, and we appreciate our sponsors making it all possible. The Robinson Film Center and Azalea Cleaners and Pintail Roofing and Learning RX and the Balanced Life Wellness Center and Fertitta's Delicatessen, home of the Godfather, alligator, Italian sausage, and some pretty good muffies too. We're talking about springing forward, resetting our body, mind, and spirit today here on Strategies.
Find the light, healthy mind and spirits bright. Strategies for living strong. Feel the vibe, it won't go wrong. Body moves and soul aligned. Catch the rhythm, feel the time. Radio rehab every day. Chase those clouds of gray away. Your daily dose of radio rehab. Lift you up when skies seem trapped. Mind and body, spirits free. Living life in harmony.
Hey, welcome into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. Glad you're with us. Glad we're all together here on Strategies for Living. Even though daylight saving time took place a couple weeks back or so, there's still a lot of people that are saying, I haven't recovered yet. My body hasn't recovered yet. I haven't reset yet. And the fact is that time affects our sleep cycles, our mood, our physical energy. You and I thought we were being very wise. We took during the time change week.
Yes.
We took that week. We took the mornings off. We worked in the afternoons, and we still did the radio show that week.
Right.
But we took the mornings off for that week. And it's interesting. And maybe it's psychological. We did it kind of purposefully.
Right.
But I still felt the effect of the time change. It wasn't dramatic.
Yeah.
But I felt it,
Yeah, no matter where you put the hour missed, you're still going to feel it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's just what it is.
It's interesting because I was all excited that Sunday night knowing, okay, I don't have to set actually it was Sunday morning, 2 a.m. I think is the actual
the technical,
time.
Right.
Yeah. So it was when I went to bed Saturday night, and I didn't have to set the alarm. Was able to, we'd gone to church on Saturday. I was able to not have to set an alarm for Sunday morning, and then not have to set an alarm for Monday morning either. Mm-hmm. And it's like, but my body. It didn't matter whether ended up not mattering whether the alarm was set or not. My body still kind of woke
right.
at the normal time,
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Because really time outside of us is something that we've created and agreed upon as humans in terms of what it says on the clock.
Yeah.
Right. But we also have an internal clock, physiological clock within our brain, that helps, and that's the circadian rhythm that helps us to keep track of where we are in time. Right?
Sunlight is extremely, and exposure, our exposure to sunlight is extremely important. Mm-hmm. And I worry from young to old that we aren't as conscious of that as perhaps we used to be. I'm 68 years old. And I think, we were way more conscious of that when I was a little fella than we are today.
And you mean in terms of the importance of getting
I don't know
sunlight?
I don't know that we talked about it. Mm-hmm. We just did it.
Yeah, it was natural.
I remember my grandmothers, especially during the springtime, getting out more.
Yeah.
And I don't remember that it was a lot of, something that we talked a lot about. I just observed that it was happening,
Yeah, well, and, all of the shift in technology, I think, has brought us indoors quite a bit. And I wonder how much of that getting less exposure, especially as young people, as kids, how much that affects our tolerance or intolerance for seasonal allergy.
Right.
And our ability for our immune system to develop that.
It's interesting.
Relationship with it.
It's interesting that, the church back in the day set Christmas, right?
Yes.
And also set the feast, the major feast. Of course, the major feast in Christianity is the resurrection. It's Easter Sunday, right?
Right.
And, wherever that actually historically took place, I think there's a lot of wisdom in setting springtime, because springtime is kind of a natural time for reset and increase.
Well, it is, and it's naturally a time, if we turn to nature, right? Sunlight is creeping into the evening. We're getting more sun. That was another marker of spring, was the equinox, right, on the 20th this year.
Right.
Where we had equal hours of day and dark at the equator, right?
Yeah.
Which is why it's called the equinox.
Right.
But from here on out, until we reach then, the fall, right, we're going to get more and more hours of sunlight. And nature, and we are nature, responds to the increased hours of sunlight, right? We see those seeds that were planted in the winter, that the seeds that fell from the trees, they're
Right.
starting to spring up.
They spring
right?
up.
Just like your beautiful poem that you started us out with, right?
I don't know how beautiful it was, but, yeah.
This is also reflected
Pure
in
poetry.
ancient traditions, right? I'm thinking even in astrology, right?
Yeah.
The first sign of the zodiac is Aries,
Mm-hmm.
which we just entered with the equinox.
Okay.
So astrologically, we just entered the new year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I've always thought it's kind of goofy that we actually celebrate the new year on the Gregorian calendar, literally in the middle of winter.
Right.
I mean, I think that's goofy. as all
Where
get
there's
out.
less light.
Where there's
there,
less
yeah.
light, and we're very more into ourselves, and we should be in this sort of hibernating period within rest.
Right.
But I don't know if you
Yeah, we kind of put, we have kind of pushed everything, and that's,
out of sync.
out of sync, if you will. I mean, I wonder, how well do we listen to our bodies? I was talking a moment ago about my grandmothers and, them just naturally getting out more, even though, I remember them and thinking of them as elderly, and I guess they were back in that day, but, but they still got out more, did gardening, did stuff outside, walked.
Right.
And I wonder if we are as good today as, say, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, 100 years ago. I wonder if we're as good at listening to our bodies.
I think, unfortunately, this is one area of humanity that we have actually, and I hate to say this, but the word I'm thinking about is devolved. I mean, we've disconnected.
The D word I was thinking about was disconnect.
Yeah. We've completely disconnected ourselves, and that is in part. There's probably several factors there. Part is our medicine, right? Part is that we've placed medicine outside of our own. We go out for things, whether that's
Right.
to a doctor or for drugs or whatever it is.
Right.
I think that's part of it. Our food has been, we completely disconnect from where we get the food. We used to be very much more in touch with where the food came from in terms of, farmers and where it was coming from. But now food travels halfway across the country before it gets to us. And we're disconnected from nature.
Yeah.
And therefore our bodies and technology as a whole actually has contributed to that as well when we're behind screens, which again totally throws off the circadian rhythm with the light, with the blue light that we're getting.
So what are some practical strategies that we can use to kind of remind ourselves to get more in touch with our bodies, more in touch with nature?
So,
I kind of discovered one by accident.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I don't know if you've noticed the last few mornings,
Yes.
before we go to the office, I go out on the front porch. And the excuse I use is we've, hung some plants out on the front porch.
Yeah, and so you got to
So
water.
I either water them or I'm checking to see if I need to water them later in the day. And, it feels good to have that morning sunlight.
Absolutely.
And that morning sunlight, if you think about it, what happens, again, melatonin, even though we think about it in pill form, melatonin is something that our body makes naturally as we, as things get darker and it's time to go to sleep. It gives us that sleepy feeling, right? When you go out and get morning sun, you are resetting the melatonin and cortisol rhythms in your body.
Yes, you are kickstarting your day.
You're kickstarting the day.
And it's a very natural evolutionary process.
Yeah.
Like you said, I mean, since the dawn of time, we are woken by the sunlight. It's a natural process that resets and says, okay, it's time to start again.
I will never tell anybody not to have their coffee because I'm going to have my coffee every morning.
Okay.
But
Yes.
one of the things that you can do is you can begin your day. I do begin my day before the coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I make a conscious effort to drink quite a bit of water,
Yeah.
way more than I
fresh,
have ever
cold
done
water.
in the past.
Yeah.
Cold water. And my idea, and it would even be better if I put some lemon in it
Yes.
and made it lemon
Absolutely.
water. I don't do that, but to get out of bed, to stretch, to drink water or lemon water or something like that, kind of wakes up the entire system
Yeah.
and says, "Okay, it's time.
Get the body moving.
Let's go."
Do that.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of a nice thing to remember, that spring in nature, what we're doing now is we are doing that slow stretching into summer.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a nice seasonal practice that hopefully you can continue throughout the day, is to wake up with the water and maybe a light stretch.
A lot of people get excited this time of year because, they can get out in the garden, right?
Yes.
They can get back and plant. We haven't done that to a great degree. Well, we've
I'm excited to start walking
we've
again.
done it a little bit. Yeah, I know you are.
Yeah.
I know you are. We're talking today about resets. This is spring. Spring has sprung on us, and are we bringing our body along? Are we bringing our physical self along? Talking about that today here on Strategies for Living, and giving some strategies for spring reset. Sounds like recess. I like it. We'll be back.
From the bayou to your table, we're keeping it alive with flavors from the family, passed down to survive. The Godfather's here with a twist in the tail, alligator Italian sausage, and it sure won't fail. It's the boss of the bayou, a taste you can't refuse. Italian tradition, Cajun infused. Godfather sausage, bold and true. The Padres bringing the bayou to you.
Get the Godfather alligator Italian sausage only at Fertitta's Delicatessen, 1124 Fairfield Avenue in Shreveport. Pick up a muffy while you're there. The Godfather alligator Italian sausage. It's a taste you can't refuse. Sold only at Fertitta's, 1124 Fairfield Avenue in Shreveport. Dealing with stress, pain, feel like you're running out of options? When your life is balanced, wellness is a given. True wellness is holistic. It's about the mind, the body, and the spirit, all in balance. Now, there's a place right here in Shreveport that's all about helping us achieve peak mental, emotional, and physical health. The Balanced Life, 117 Kings Highway, right next door to Strawn's. Come see and feel the difference getting your life in balance can be. Many of your friends and neighbors have already learned the difference less stress and pain mean in their lives. You can book a discovery session right now online, thebalancedlife.us. All you've got to lose is stress, pain, or maybe both. Come see and feel for yourself the real difference balanced wellness makes. The Balanced Life Wellness Center, 117 Kings Highway in Shreveport, next door to Strawn's. Thebalancedlife.us. And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. We are Lauren, Leon McMillan, David McMillan. We're talking about waking up for the springtime, resetting, right?
Yeah, stretching into the sunlight.
Stretching.
And I want to remind us, I think we can get so excited by the sun and the change of the seasons. And I think that's great because we can feel, as part of nature,
Right.
we humans can feel that natural shift and increase in energy. But I also think it's important that we acknowledge and we recognize the shift as a shift. right? And what I mean by that is allow yourself some time to adjust.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Be
And-
gentle and compassionate with yourself.
Something I like to think about in spring is the idea of the literal, what the word is, right? Like if we look at a literal spring, a coiled piece of wire,
Yep.
it's something that can, we think of it springing forward, right? Like bouncing forward. However,
I always wanted all those spring inventions that the Roadrunner, made. Of course, they never worked out real well for him. So maybe
I'm wondering who your coyote is, and maybe I looked out on that one.
Yeah, maybe so. Beep beep.
No, but we often think about it springing forward, right? But I think we often forget that in order to spring forward, there has to be a contraction. Like the spring itself has to be condensed in order to then spring forward farther than it was. Right. So I think, I don't know, energetically that feels to be a part of the season where we kind of go through these contractions within ourselves of, okay, it's almost like a tiny bit of winter still left over.
So are you saying be patient with yourself? Are you saying be gentle and patient with yourself? Is that kind of what you're saying?
As you go through the cycle and the shift, to be able to just flow with I need to go inward for a minute and remember what it is that I want to produce, and then use the energy of spring to push that out.
Yeah.
So let that carry you forward where you're wanting to go.
All right, so we've been talking about mainly the physical here in the last segment, the first segment.
Mm-hmm.
We also need to talk about the mind and clearing the mind, also, don't we?
Yes.
Because it's kind of a natural thing for us to want to spring clean in the house. Even if we don't do it, we might think about it more. At this time of year.
And I think that's a societal thing, but it's also a natural thing. I mean, that's part of that. Okay, I feel this energy and I want to start cleaning in order to move forward.
Is that a testimony, though, of what's happened to us internally during the winter months, during the less active months?
Yep.
Where we probably whatever we do, most of us probably have watched more TV, but we might have read more books. We might have done things that,
more within.
Yeah. And so, it may be a natural thing during this time to also think about cleaning your house and cleaning the house of your mind.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Your mind may need some decluttering, just like your house might need some decluttering.
Right.
Your mind might need some too.
Yeah. So
don't leave it out.
So check in and be aware of those common dust bunnies, right, in your mind, like negative self-talk.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Some overcommitted schedules and kind of making you feel overwhelmed.
And even information overload. I mean, probably we have spent more time in front of the screen, whether it's our iPads or our computers or whatever, and we surf and we gather info, we gather data, we gather information. Yeah. That can clutter things up.
Big time. Yeah.
Yeah. So it may be a good time to say, okay, let's do some spring cleaning there too. Kind of clean the slate mentally and emotionally, if you will,
Mm-hmm. So how do we go about doing that? Cleaning the mind.
I think you have a great idea.
Yes.
In your practice that you've been going at it for a little over a year now.
Yes.
But you journal every morning.
I do.
And I think that is an absolute, not that there's any one strategy that's the be all end all. You got to find out what works for you. And I'm delighted for you that the morning journaling works for you.
Yes.
But I have seen a shift in your lightness, in Yeah, and that's not to say everything's perfect. I mean, you still have a headache every once in a while when you wake up. I mean, it's
life
the normal.
is still life.
Yeah, life is still life. Okay, well, the pollen's out there, and sometimes you have a headache or this or that. So it's still, not saying that this makes everything perfect, but that's what I've noticed. I've noticed when I compare year to year. Mm-hmm. And now it's been, we've been hanging around with each other for 6-7 years.
Yes.
Right?
Almost 8.
So, I've watched that evolving. I've watched that growth, and it's been very, very neat. I've always admired that you journaled, but you have never, during the time that I've known you, you've never journaled to the extent that you've journaled the last year and a few months.
Yes.
And you do it religiously. You do it every day. And I can testify 100% that it has made a difference.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you see that. I feel that. I mean, it has been, for me, it's a devotional practice it's about waking up with myself, for myself, and checking in with with my personal connection with divinity, with my higher power,
right.
To say, okay, what awaits me in the day? What do I need to pay attention to? What are some things that I need to look out for today? And it has been remarkably, the word I would use is miraculous. And it has built my trust in myself and my higher power in ways I didn't know.
And downloaded information that sometimes you share. You don't share every single word with me, but you share a lot with me. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you'll share some real meaningful passage that you've had on, when we're driving to.
That's the
work.
Coolest piece for me is that it
blows me away sometimes what you get.
It's obvious that it doesn't come from me, the
right.
ego me.
It's coming through you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because there are things that I'll literally have conversations with myself where I'll get a word or a phrase and ego me says, well, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Where did that come from?
And then the explanation is otherworldly in terms of, whoa, I never even thought to look at it that way.
Yeah.
I couldn't, again, this is my practice, and this is one of those things when you're so involved in it, you want everybody to do it. You're like, why isn't
you're excited about it?
Why isn't everyone else doing it? But I also recognize that it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you've got to find your own niche, your pathway to yourself.
We've got a couple of people that we work with that physically, it would be a real challenge for them,
right,
to do the kind of journaling that you do. Okay, so you got to figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's a
it's not a
meditation practice,
yeah.
If it's a daily walking, we also have a friend who does a walking liturgy of sorts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He'll walk through the park every day and do a litany.
Yep.
And that's his connection, and he gets information that way.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. So some other strategies would be, look at your calendar and your commitments. This is a good time to review those. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? What are those that are there that are, they don't serve you. You don't really want to do them. You're doing them out of a sense of quote unquote obligation.
I love this idea, especially for this time of the year, because I think a lot of things are restarting for the year now. And so it's a great time to say, I'd always done this for the year. And it's really, I've done it not for me. I've done it for other people, or because I feel like I have to.
Yeah.
And so, let me just try to let that go, maybe for the first couple months of spring, and see how I feel. And if I miss it, let's go back. And if not, well, then that seems like it's done its job, right?
Yeah. We were taught growing up as little Catholics that during the season of Lent, which we're in right now, mm-hmm. you give something up, and that's, I don't know about you, but that's the way it was presented to me.
Yeah.
And I've said this before. I made my first grade teacher, Sister Mercedes, so proud because I told her I was giving up watermelon for for Lent, and she was just so proud of me. I guess because she liked watermelon. I hate watermelon. And later she found out that was, kind of the thing, so it didn't go so well there. But,
Right.
It worked for a little while.
It worked while it lasted.
It worked for a little while. But, I think we did a program on LENT,
Yep.
Let's Eliminate Negative Thinking. So you could do fasting, not giving up something like candy or sweets or desserts or watermelon. You could fast in other ways. You could fast on negativity in your life.
Yeah, you could fast on negativity. You could fast on news. You could fast on screen time.
Yep.
I mean, I think something we've mentioned that you might have dropped into the habit of this winter maybe is more screen time.
Yep.
And there are tons of...
It's easy to do.
Yeah. And I've noticed myself doing that. And so I set a reminder on my phone to tell me when I've spent X number of minutes on social media or whatever. So just so I'm aware. And then I have a choice point to make. Okay, is this fueling me? Or, is there something else that could really bring me greater peace or joy right now?
Yeah, and
maybe
maybe
am I just doing this out of habit?
if you want to add something, maybe add some kind of practice of mindfulness, and it doesn't have to be long. It could be just a 2 or 3 minutes of deep breathing to reconnect with the present.
What a great time to go out and sit and just feel the sun and
Yeah.
be mindful of the change in the
Absolutely.
air around you.
So what thoughts or obligations are taking up space in your mind that maybe don't serve you so much anymore? Spring cleaning time to sweep them away. We're talking about that and more here on Strategies for Living. We're going to come back and talk about resetting. We talked about the body. We talked about the mind. Let's come back and talk about resetting the spirit. Be right back. Hey, let's talk about the Robinson Film Center. I say it a lot. There's no place like the Robinson.
Absolutely, there is not.
617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. You've got so much. You got the movies. You got Abby Singer's Bistro on the second floor of RFC, open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Saturday.
Newly remodeled.
Absolutely. Great menu. RobinsonFilmCenter.org is the way you check it all out. You can go to RobinsonFilmCenter.org at any time and find out what movies are showing. Here's the deal. You want to join the crowd, join the fun, become a member. When you become a member, you become a star. You get discounts on movies, you get concession upgrades, you get bistro deals. RFC, 617 Texas Street in downtown Shreveport. I'll say it again. There's no place like the Robinson.
There is not, and I'm glad we have one right here.
Absolutely. The RobinsonFilmCenter.org.
Reading begins not in the classroom, but in your child's brain. I'm Donisa Walker with Learning RX Shreveport. If your child struggles to read, maybe he or she has trouble focusing or comprehending, Learning RX Shreveport offers a science solution to reading problems, working one-on-one with your child, targeting his or her reading skills. Today, call Learning RX Shreveport. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child, so does Learning RX Shreveport.
Life gets hard along the way. Gotta get through it day by day. We get strategies right here. Strategies for Living Radio. I know some radio rehab.
Oh, we got them. Yeah, we do. Strategies.
For Living Radio.
Strategies to the left of me. Strategies to the right of me. Strategies below me. Strategies above me. Got them everywhere. Thank you for tuning in to Strategies for Living. And you may be saying, hey, I got somebody, these goofy people on the radio. I got a friend in Timbuktu, and I'd really like my friend in Timbuktu to listen to Strategies. They can do that.
They can do that.
Yeah, they can do that.
We're
Yeah.
on podcast platforms.
Yeah, what's your
everywhere.
favorite
Pick your
platform?
favorite.
What is it? Is it a lot of people are on Apple, a lot of people on Spotify, a lot of people on iHeart.
Radio, yeah.
Radio.
We're even on Pandora.
Podcast. Yeah,
Podcast Addict.
I think we're on all the major
I think so.
We're on all the major podcast platforms. So just pick yours and look for Strategies for Living. Search for Strategies for Living, and you can listen to us in podcast, and you can pass the word on. Help us get the word out.
Please do, yeah.
Yeah, Strategies for Living. And we're growing.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we got some folks listening to us in Florida. Got some folks listening to us across the pond.
Yeah.
In the United
UK.
Kingdom. That blows me away that in 3 different places in the United Kingdom,
Yeah.
we've got subscribers. That's so neat.
It is.
You know, should have done this, a long time ago. But glad we did it now.
We're here now. No better time to do it than spring, right?
So we're talking, and that's part of the reset, right? We're talking about resetting today, and We've talked about resetting the mind. We've talked about resetting the body. Let's spend a little time about resetting. This is a perfect season for resetting the spirit.
Yes.
And reconnecting with purpose and presence.
Mm-hmm.
And, spiritually, what is spring? It's about giving birth, rebirth, born again, right?
Yeah.
Growth and possibility. You're planting that plant, and you're hoping, and you're watering, and you're doing all the things that you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And you're dreaming of the possibility, for that.
It's going to burst.
That it's going to burst
through the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's just a natural, normal season for that.
Yeah.
The other side of it, though, Lauren, is what do I need to let go of?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's a huge transition. I do want to note that, if we're comparing it to very aptly to nature and to the seeds that are planted, right?
Right.
This is interesting. This kind of came through actually in one of my morning journaling sessions in late winter, right before the spring equinox. There was this idea that we were still in these phases right before the plant burst through the surface. And so we were rooting in the darkness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So life in plants begins in the soil, in the darkness.
Yeah.
Right? And they're feeling their way through the darkness, making these grand connections and roots underground, and making these networks until that in the spring, when they burst through into the light. Right? And so I think it's important that we remember those roots that we've planted, to stay rooted in that, and also recognize the effort that it takes to burst through, and the dramatic shift of coming from underneath the soil of doing all this inner work to, oh my gosh, now I've got to show myself, I've got to grow. And growth inherently means vulnerability, because it's a stretching and it leaves you vulnerable.
It's a stretching and an opening, so that's definitely going to present some vulnerabilities.
Right. Yeah. And all of a sudden you're on the surface of the earth, where you're subject to weather and all kinds of new
you're not as
conditions.
protected as you were back in the womb, if you will.
Right.
The womb of the earth.
Yeah. Right.
Just as we are born, we're not as protected as we are in our mother's womb. And when we do new things, when we try new things in our lives, that might replicate and duplicate that feeling of vulnerability and newness. But what better time than the springtime to encourage us for that?
Right.
The other thing spiritually is what kind of practices, are you practicing your spirituality? Now, and how does that work for you? What's the best thing that you can do for you? If it's church, that's wonderful.
Right.
Find yourself a church. If it's some practice or ritual that will help you reconnect with the spirit within, your soul and spirit within, then that's what I would encourage you to do.
That could be as simple as lighting a candle, or saying a meditation or an affirmation or a prayer, or taking up a practice of journaling.
Yep.
Or even going for a walk and allowing yourself to be mindful and open to whatever might fall into your mind at that time, right?
Yeah.
To be very present to the world reawakening around us, right? And so it kind of begs the question, what do you want to awaken within yourself? What is churning? What's been churning in the womb of winter, right? That's wanting to be released now.
A lot of us grew up with, spiritual text, if you will. We have spiritual text that we remember from maybe our childhood, even if we haven't looked at it or studied it for a while. What was your favorite? What stands out? And when's the last time that you took it out and looked at it with new eyes? With springtime newness and new eyes. If it's been 10 years, if it's been 20 years, you're a different person now than when you looked at it 10 or 20 years ago. You might, whatever that spiritual text is, whether it's the Bible, whether it's, the Bhagavad Gita, whatever it is, whether it's the Quran, whether it's A Course in Miracles, whatever it is. Take it out and look at it again with new eyes and with fresh eyes.
It could be something that maybe feels or presents more secular, but to you awakens something in your spirit.
Yeah.
I mean, there are no rules to this. Whatever you feel moves your spirit, go towards that.
And what do you want to plant? What do you want to plant this season? What do you want to plant? What seeds of growth are you ready to really nurture, feed, and water?
Yeah.
That Jesus told a parable of the scattering of the seeds, right?
The sower, yeah.
And so, we get to choose when we plant a seed. We get to choose how we feed it, how we nourish it, how we water it. And so it's a good time.
Which ones are you nurturing and which ones are you allowing to go back to the soul?
Yeah. What parts of your spirit and soul are asking, hey, pick me, wake me up this season?
Yeah.
Good question to ask ourselves as we consider all of this here today on Strategies for Living. We'll be right back. You're going to see the difference. When you go to Azalea Cleaners, you'll hear about it too. Azalea Cleaners has been fine dry cleaning since 1958, plus laundry, alterations and repairs, comforters, wedding gown cleaning and restoration. You'll hear about it from your friends because they'll see it too. They'll notice the Azalea difference. Azalea is convenient. 732 Azalea Drive, 9220 Ellerby Road, and 9227 Mansfield Road. Plus, the front door of your home or business with Azalea's delivery on demand. Just text SETUP to 249-8283, and Azalea will pick up your clothes and deliver them back clean and fresh to you. You can't get closer than that. That's the Azalea difference. You'll notice it right away. Others will too. The Azalea difference. Fine dry cleaning since 1958. Text SETUP to 249-8283 and get the Azalea difference. AzaleaCleaners.com.
Hi, this is Jay Merle for Pintail Roofing. Let's talk about quality. When you hire Pintail to build your roof, here's what you can expect. Quality and quality control are the most important concerns for us at Pintail, and you need to know that Pintail stands tall with swift and professional performance on any warranty call. This is our most important policy. And remember, we're your neighbors. We'll be here for you for the long haul. Our family's lived here for over 100 years, and we aren't going anywhere. On the commercial side of Pintail's business, our fluid-applied roofing solutions can save thousands of dollars over conventional commercial roofing options. Call Pintail at 226-ROOF for a free inspection of your home or commercial building. That's 226-7663. Pintail Roofing. What's the condition of your roof?
Facing the same old problems day to day makes you wanna holler, get away. dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living.
And welcome back into Strategies for Living. David McMillan, Lauren Leon McMillan, talking about resetting the body, the mind, and the soul and spirit today here on Strategies for Living. And, treat yourself. Treat yourself to something special this springtime. What are you taking away from today?
Oh, just that this time is kind of a transitory reawakening, right? To remind yourself that this isn't a time of unfurling, a time of stretching. I almost think, metaphorically, it's that time in the early morning when you're easing into the day.
Yeah.
Right? And you're beginning to set intentions for the day.
Yep.
That's what spring is about. So being able to let the energy of the season kind of reawaken an energy within you to move forward on what it is that you want and need most in your life now, right? So choosing one small thing that helps you to feel renewed today in the season of spring.
Yeah.
And it's not about changing everything at once because it's a season. Yeah. It's a transitory
It's about
season.
tuning in. It's about noticing.
Yeah.
Right?
What wants to bloom in you?
What wants to burst forth?
Yeah.
Good time to allow it. Good time to let it. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Folks, thank you. We appreciate you being with us here on Strategies for Living. We do this each day for you, and we can do it because of our wonderful sponsors, the Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Pintail Roofing, and Learning RX, and the Balanced Life Wellness Center, and Fertitta's Delicatessen, home of The Godfather, alligator Italian sausage, and some pretty good muffies, too. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who would you call? What would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Lauren Leon McMillan, I'm David McMillan. See you next time, right here on Strategies for Living.